What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily, and in this video, we are checking out the new Honor 400. Now, there are actually three different Honor 400s this year: a 400 Lite, a 400 regular, which is this one, and the 400 Pro. Obviously, as you go up the line, you can expect better screens, better cameras, more powerful internal specs, amongst some other differences. And I actually think this regular Honor 400 is probably the best of the trio when it comes to offering plenty of great features for a fair price. It's balanced, so to speak. Now, I admittedly haven't had a ton of experience with Honor devices since I am located in the US, but I am still excited to see what this phone has to offer and how it stacks up against the mid-range devices I'm most familiar with. And I'm also interested in experiencing the software and AI features since Honor, like other smartphone companies, have been putting a lot of effort specifically into that stuff. First things first, of course, let's just quickly unbox it. It's a pretty minimal yet classy looking package, and slicing on in, the first thing you'll see is the phone itself. And underneath, there's honestly not a whole lot more. You'll find a SIM ejector tool, and then just a lonely old USB-C cable. No wall charger, and for me, no other paperwork or anything like that, since this is just a loaner unit provided by Honor. So we'll get it fully unwrapped and powered on, and the first thing I want to go over is the price. This will require some currency conversions, but the Honor 400 is priced at 499 euros, which is like 570 US dollars, give or take. But this phone won't be officially sold in the US. It's available most everywhere else in the world though, and at that price, it's a few $100 less than the 400 Pro and a few $100 more than the Lite, and in my opinion, firmly within the mid-tier smartphone category. Now, I actually think this phone looks a lot more premium than its price point might suggest. At precisely 6.55 inches, that's the screen size corner to corner, it's actually kind of a smaller phone since we regularly see 6.7-inch Android devices nowadays, like the Honor 400 Pro. But I think its slightly smaller footprint, combined with its slim, even bezels, a 90% screen-to-body ratio, make this phone comfortable and very manageable, especially with one-handed use. I sometimes forget that phones can be a little smaller, and my pocket sure does thank me for that. Around back, the Honor 400 arguably looks even more premium. Obviously, we've seen this fit and finish before. This is what Honor calls their Desert Golden, but you can opt for Midnight Black, Meteor Silver, or Tidal Blue if this color isn't for you. It's a more subtle shade of pinkish gold. There's a mix of matte and polished edges that sort of enhance its design and bring out some detail, and it is a glass back paired to an aluminum frame, which altogether makes this phone look and feel fairly high-end. It's also IP65 or IP66 dust and water resistant depending on your region, so it's as tough as it is good looking. Taking a look around at everything else here, nothing on the left side of the phone. On the right, regular old volume and power buttons. Up top, you'll notice a microphone hole, an IR sensor, and a full-size secondary loudspeaker. At the bottom, there's your slightly larger main speaker, alongside the USB-C port and the SIM card tray, which for this phone is just a SIM card tray. Dual SIM, but no micro SD card support. Luckily, you have your choice of either 256 gigabytes or 512 gigabytes of storage, like I have here, which should be enough, especially if you take a little time and delete the dozen or so extra third-party apps that definitely don't need to be on this phone. Mildly annoying, as always, but I'm sure these apps help subsidize the phone's price. Finishing up, there's the center hole punch selfie camera, and around back, two camera lenses, which I'll demo in a moment. And there is also an in-display fingerprint sensor as one of your unlocking methods, the ultrasonic variety, so a bit faster and more accurate than some other mid-tier phones, and you can pair that with Face Unlock as well. The slightly smaller 6.55-inch display is still a super bright and very vibrant AMOLED panel, coming in at the better than Full HD 2736 by 1264 resolution for a pretty impressive 460 pixels per inch. It's of course a 120Hz high refresh rate display as well, which you have the option of enabling. There are a couple other visual enhancements for video and HDR and extra vividness you can mess with too, but most importantly, this phone can achieve a supposed 5000 nits of peak brightness, which is actually a pretty insane spec or claim at least. I mean, that would put it far brighter than Samsung's flagship phones, and even brighter than the Xiaomi 15 Ultra and the OnePlus 13. I'm gonna have to step outside and test that for myself, but even messing with the user-controlled brightness, this is a noticeably bright phone for its price point. I think its big brightness claims almost cancel out the mystery glass covering the display that is still pretty glare prone, though admittedly that's a relatively minor gripe for an otherwise really good looking screen. I mean, I could immediately tell from a first look that this phone is brighter than, say, Samsung's A56 for example, which I feel is a close competitor, and everything else with this phone's display is an even match or better to anything else you can think of that approaches $700 or $800. I think there are other reasons to get this phone: processor and RAM combination, the camera, the build, the battery size, charging speeds. So I won't say this beautiful, bright display is the only reason, or even the top reason necessarily, but it is definitely a standout feature for this phone. And actually, something else I continue to appreciate on smartphones is a good set of external speakers. And this phone has that too. Maybe I just listen to my music and YouTube videos out loud more than the average person, but I like having two big, full-sized speakers versus a secondary earpiece speaker. And I also like the 200% sound boost that this phone purports to give you. It really sounds great even at that maximum volume. So powering the Honor 400 is a pretty snappy Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 chipset, paired to either 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM. I actually have the 8 gigabyte model, which is probably my only regret with this entire phone. What you're seeing here is Honor's Magic OS 9 over top Android 15. Now, I would imagine most people would take advantage of Honor's Themes app and the comprehensive customization options this phone offers. So this Android flair is likely not what you'd wind up using unless you really like the theming, the app layout, the drop-down panel, which by the way is probably the aspect I like least. The toggles are a bit big and I tend to mistouch some things when I scroll down, but that can be fixed with some modifications. I think this is generally a pretty fast feeling phone, though it's a little odd to me that even with just 6 or 7 apps open right out of the box, this phone tends to want to completely reload a page that was open mere moments ago, which again is why I think I just want more RAM, especially since Honor has added a ton of AI-focused features and apps, everything from their own circle and search function to a new feature where you can turn any standard image from your camera roll into a short video, kind of like a moving picture or live photo, but an AI-generated final product. There's AI assistance with the camera app for photos and portraits, there's AI features related to vividness of the display, and Google Gemini too, just for good measure. All of this is only as good as the phone is powerful, and fortunately, I think Honor chose a fan-favorite chip to go all out with their AI. I also commend Honor for now guaranteeing 6 major Android updates for the lifespan of this phone, which means even though this isn't the most expensive device on the market, or even within Honor's 400 lineup this year, you're going to get multiple years of use without the worry of missing out on any new Android releases, and like I often say, that means it's a good long-term investment or long-term hold in that regard for whatever money you spend on it, though it also feels like a good phone right now with everything else it offers. Something I was shocked to see on the spec sheet for this phone was both the battery size and battery type. You'll get either a 5300 mAh battery if you're in Europe or a 6000 mAh battery if you're anywhere else in the world. That's a bigger than average capacity both ways, but the battery itself is of the new silicon carbon variety, which affords you that higher capacity along with a longer lifespan without being negatively affected by fast charging speeds. Something this phone also offers, either 66 watts or 80 watts, again depending on your region. This is something I'm really excited to test out because we've all been begging for better battery tech. Finally, around back, this regular Honor 400 rocks a dual lens camera setup that's made up of a 200 megapixel main lens and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide lens. If you're curious, The Honor 400 Lite gets lesser lenses, but of the same type, and jumping to the Pro affords you a third telephoto lens. Now, I actually think, for this phone, this is more than enough. I mean, you get 30x digital zoom, which is probably more than you'd need most days anyway. You have some nifty extras, like a dedicated aperture adjustment shooting mode outside of the regular Pro controls. You have 4K video recording, you have a high-res 200 megapixel photo mode, you still get macro and slow-mo. There's plenty of AI assistance for during the picture taking and for after, which you can choose to utilize or not. Arguably, the 30x zoom gets a lot of that AI enhancement, but otherwise, the images do look quite good. Really balanced, really true to life, without any gimmicky color enhancements or over-detailed filters, and I'm excited to snap even more pictures with this phone in the coming weeks to see what it can do. Every time I get to check out a new phone, like this Honor 400, I kind of cry in American. This is the sort of mid-range device that I think would be super competitive in the US against the likes of a Samsung A series or a Moto G series. And I even think that for everyone else in the world, this is a pretty darn good buy considering all the competition out there. It feels like a really good value so long as you like Honor's software experience, but the hardware and specs are certainly enough to justify its mid-tier price point. What do you guys think? Is this a decent phone for the money, or would you rather snag something else? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow Tech Daily on Twitter and subscribe to the Tech Daily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.